This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the CEO and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Tom, my friend, it's always a joy to be here with you, and I know that we have a very important subject to cover this weekend. We're going to be talking about something known as the financial red zone. But before we unpack what that is, I thought it would be helpful for our listeners to get a little bit more insight into your background. Red zone is something that you're really familiar with, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, it is. I coach football in the state of Texas, which is the state of euphoria for football, if you know what I mean. And I coached football for about 9 years and won a few state championships and did those things. And of all things, guess what I was? I was the offensive coordinator, which means that when you're in the red zone, if in case you're not much of a football fan, that means that when you're inside the 20-yard line, it is the red zone. That is the scoring time. You've got to make sure and have all of your ducks in a row and all of those things. So when we got in the red zone, we were actually judged by how well, and teams are still today, judged by how well they do when they're in the red zone, because that's what really matters, is right there in that last 20 yards before you get into the end zone, and that's where you score points.
Absolutely. Such a critical time. And so this plays right into our concept today of financial red zone. When we say that, what we're referring to is being 5 to 10 years away from retirement. And just as you were the offensive coordinator for the red zone in football, now we could say you're the offensive coordinator for people's retirements, right?
You're absolutely right. There's so many things that people need to, you need to be aware of these things continually as you're saving for retirement, but it is especially important that right there in the red zone, you make a mistake down there, it is crucial because you've blown points. You've blown, if you want to say what we would call it in financial services, you've blown money and you've blown the opportunity for money, and you make choices right down there. And so many people, when they get into that financial red zone, then when they get into that, as you said, Kristin, 5 to 10 years before they retire, they are so focused on just being happy and not having to work anymore, or they're grumbling because they got a new boss and their company was sold and all kind of reasons, that they don't get the kind of professional advice or the right kind of direction. And you make mistakes in the red zone, it'll cost you the football game. You make mistakes in retirement in the red zone, and it'll cost you many times a great retirement.
Well, moving back to this whole concept of the financial red zone in your own retirement landscape, if you will, we're going to be talking about some tips to make sure that your financial game plan is solid as you are within 5 to 10 years away from retirement. So the first one on our list is funding your 401k to the max. And we should presence too, this isn't just a 401k. A lot of folks have a workplace retirement plan that could be a 403b or a 457. Talk about the importance of funding that workplace retirement plan to the max.
Oh my goodness, if you're so fortunate to have a 401k or 457 or 403b, and sometimes we rattle off all of those every time because we still have people come in and they say, well, you didn't mention mine. There are a ton of those things out there, all kinds of fours, okay? But if you've got any kind of workplace retirement, you need to do your best to fund it, because you need to be putting as much as you can in your 401k during these final red zone years. And it makes it a little bit easier sometimes. Easier to give up money, never, okay? But easier because maybe the children are out of the house, Maybe the children's college has been taken care of. Maybe some of the house is paid down. Maybe the travel ball and the dance and all those other things are behind you and they're not still out in front of you. And it gives you an opportunity. And we recently, Kristin, have had two couples come in and they're right around 50. Okay. They're right in that entering the red zone. And the wife had stayed home and, you know, it was their choice. It's like what we did 20 years, 40 years, 50 years ago. The wife stayed home, helped the kids through high school. And now that the kids are in college, the wife has gone back to work. We've even hired a lady recently for our company that was in that same position. And they hired the lady so she can make extra money to put away for retirement during the red zone. So you need to have a strategy session. And the 401k needs to be right in the middle of that and say, what can we put away in the 401k? When you put away money in a normal, regular, traditional 401k, that money is tax deferred, so it lowers your tax burden. You may be in a position where you want to consider putting that money away in a Roth 401k. So you definitely positively need to look at the 401k. Why? Real quickly, it's automated. It comes out before it gets in your check. You don't have to turn around and write another check for it. The company takes it out of your paycheck. Number two, many times it's matched. What a great deal.
Yes.
Not only do you get your money that goes in there, but you get their money that goes in 4%, 2%, 6%, whatever it is. That's free money. But you got to get involved in the 401k to take care of it. You say, how do I do that? I turned it down when I first started, or I'm not putting away as much as I should. Call your HR department. Call whoever's in charge of your HR. Now, a bigger thing you need to do is this. We're talking about 401ks. We do 401k coaching. We do tax planning. We do tax helping with people. We do income planning with people. We do Social Security strategy with people. All of that is boiled into what we call a retirement blueprint. And this is just what we're talking about in this segment is just one little piece of a retirement blueprint where we can help you prepare for retirement in the red zone, wherever, if you're before the red zone, we can help you, but you've got to pick up the phone and call us. Kristin's going to give you the number.
That number to call to get your very own customized, personalized retirement blueprint is 888-930-5609. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. The team of 𝐬╗ Wealth Management would love to help and serve you. More tips to help you succeed in the financial red zone right after this.
Is having $1 million enough to retire? For years, many have considered this to be the goal amount to have for retirement savings, $1 million. But that's the $1 million question. Is that enough for today's modern retiree? Are you sure you've saved enough for a 25 or 30-year retirement? Are you concerned about covering large expenses, including taxes and long-term care? If so, you're not alone. But there is a solution. With a comprehensive financial plan, you can take control of your finances to help you achieve your long-term goals. At 𝐬╗ Wealth Management, let us help you work towards peace of mind by implementing a complete retirement strategy. Call Tom Mosley and the team of 𝐬╗ Wealth Management right away to receive your complimentary, comprehensive written financial plan. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm here with Tom, the man, the myth, the legend himself. We are talking today about the importance of having a solid plan in place, especially as you are in the financial red zone, meaning within 5 to 10 years away from retirement. You know, you mentioned, Tom, in the last segment, 401k coaching that you and the team of 𝐬╗ Wealth Management provide. We talked more about this on the show last weekend. And so the next item up on our list ties right into that. It's rethinking your 401k assignments. Share a little bit with our listeners about this 401k coaching, how this item on the list plays in, because I know you've done this for a lot of folks.
We've done this for a ton of people, and that is this. We can't manage, in almost all cases, we can't manage your 401k for you because that's managed through the company that your company has set up so that they can do through one
using, right?
Yeah, through the provider. So, but what we can do is we can go in, and it's one thing, you need to put as much money as you can in there. Okay, no question. That's what we talked about in the first time. Pile it all in there, but then where do you put it what does it go to once it goes in there? So what we've done is when somebody begins to work with us as our clients, we have them send to us not just what they're invested in their 401k, but we have them send to us the options that they have available to them within the 401k. Now, we're not talking about a real pretty field here, because most 401ks are built for that 25, 30, 35-year-old person who he or she is just getting started to save. And what do they have on their side that maybe you don't have when you're in the retirement red zone? You don't have time on your side when you're in the red zone. You do have time on your side when you're 25, 30, or 35 years of age. So you can withstand market volatility, up, down, sideways. And most of the time when people that we work with who are younger come in, we have to remind them they have a 401k. And they're shocked at what they have in their 401k because they don't look at it on a regular basis. And I tell all 5 of my kids who are age 27 to 46, start a great retirement plan with some great investments, and don't look at it until you're 55 years of age. But once you get to be 55 years of age and you're in the red zone, that's what we're talking about today, you really need to begin to look at it because of 2 reasons. Let's say, for instance, that you are way ahead of the game. I mean, you've got, your needs aren't great. Maybe you've got 2 really big Social Securities if you're married. You've got 1 really big Social Security if you're single. And you're looking at retirement. You're looking at your income. You're starting to build a plan. We do this with people every day. And, they don't really need to tap their 401k for a lot of money. They don't need $4 or $5, $6 million in that 401k to have a really great retirement. But what they don't need to do, Kristin, is in the last 5 years, in the last 3 years, in the last 1 year, lose 50% because they've got it invested in the wrong thing.
Right. That's a sequence of returns risk, and that's financially devastating for so many folks.
It can destroy you to have a big downturn in the very right before you retire or right after you retire. You said it right. Our industry calls it the sequence of returns. What's the market going to do right after you or right before you retire? Back in 2008, back in 2022, just a little over a year ago, we had some people decide to work another year because they lost 20% in 2022. They lost 20% of what they had in their 401k. So you may need to go in, if you're way ahead of the game, you may need to go ahead in and back down the risk on your investments. On the other hand, if you've got maybe 5 years or 7 years and you're behind the 8 ball, you haven't really put as much as you should have within that 401k, you may need some coaching on being pretty aggressive for the next 3 or 4 years until you get within 1 or 2 years of retirement. Let's try to make some money. Let's try to make hay while we still have the opportunity and grow within that 401k. So even though it's in a 401k, and the problem is, you can pay those guys 1% and they'll manage it, but they just manage you like a cookie cutter rather than really looking at it.
It's not that customized, individualized approach.
It is not. We offer our 401k coaching absolutely free for people who are working with us on any other thing that we have. And we're able to go in and give you that coaching and get you in the right position. So you need to rethink those assignments on your 401k to make sure that you're maximizing, that you're getting the most out of it, or you're taking the risk out of it, or there are a lot of other things you could be doing in those last few years right before retirement. We're talking the red zone here. We're talking don't make mistakes in that red zone.
Absolutely. Well, one other thing I want to bring up, Tom, this is fresh on my mind from a recent conversation I had this week where we were talking about target date funds within a lot of these workplace retirement plans. A lot of people are invested in what's known as a TDF, a target date fund, which automatically sets your risk tolerance based on how old you are. But talk about the problem that can come with just that set it, forget it approach for folks, especially as they approach this retirement red zone.
I'm glad you used the word old, okay? Because there is an old theory in investments that you need to be Let's be 40-60. Let's be
Mhm.
50-50. Let's
Those
be
rules of thumb, right?
the rules of thumb. Somebody cut off our thumbs, okay, along the way, because that old idea that when stocks go up, bonds go down, because it's a mixture of what percentage is in stock versus bonds, is
Mhm.
that old 60-40, 70-30. And that is exactly what they've done with target funds. And I call them LAZY, lazy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what happened in 2022?
A lot of people
I
got a rude wake-up call is what happened.
they did, because bonds and stock were down both over 20% in 2022. Let me give you one story. In our Chino office, I was working with a gentleman back then, and he's still a client, still a good client. And if I named the company he worked for, you'd know it. And he
Mhm.
had 24 options within his 401k. There were two options that made just a little bit of money: the money market and his very much of a fixed income little fund that was there that's almost like a money market. The other 22 options were all down 20% in 2022. Why?
Wow.
Because they were mostly target funds, and the bonds were down and the stocks were down.
Mhm.
So you got to understand that just following sage old advice. I remember my mom followed sage old advice. Whenever I wanted to stay home from school, she gave me castor oil, okay,
Mhm.
which was a horrible taste. And they've proven that it does not one thing for you, except that it was easier to go to school than it was to swallow that big spoonful of castor oil, okay?
Oh.
So there's your sage old advice. Don't necessarily follow it, because the rules have changed. One other rule that's changed: watch the stock market. People say, well, don't you think I should put my money into gold? Well, we've got a small sliver of gold in almost everything that we put together in a portfolio. But most of the time, when stocks go up, gold goes up. When stocks go down, gold goes down. So you can't follow sage old advice,
Mhm.
because many times it's out the window. The rules of thumb are cut off, and they have no
Mhm.
thumbs anymore.
Yep, absolutely. Well, moving on our list here, the next one is consider adding an IRA. This is really fascinating, especially for someone to consider doing this during the retirement red zone. So talk about that.
Well, you can add to a 401k an IRA. And I don't want to assume that everybody out there listening to us has a 401k or a 403b option.
Right.
So your best option might be to start an IRA. Now, for the rest of this segment, in the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to talk about an individual retirement account. If you're under 50, you can start these accounts, and you can put into those accounts, you can put a total of $7,000 in 2024. All right.
Mhm.
In 2024, you can put, if you're over 50, a total of $8,000 into IRAs. And that might be a very good thing to do. You take the money, you start building your own. What does IRA stand for? Individual retirement account. The four plans are all company plans. The individual retirement accounts are exactly what they say. They're individual retirement accounts. Now, a lot of people are confused, that they think that I've got a 401k, so I can't therefore have an IRA. But that's not true. You can have a fully funded 401k, and then you can also fund the full amount into an IRA. Few exclusions, but very, very few. Most of you who are listening are out there, and you have these that are eligible to you, and you need to be taking advantage of it. The problem with it is you've got to take the money, get it written to you in your paycheck, and then you've got to set up an automatic deduction to go into that IRA. So it takes a little more work on your part than the automation that's involved in a 401k. But the point is this: you could do both and.
Mhm.
You could do either or. But the point is, you've got to start doing something, okay? You know, the best way to have had a million trees is to have planted them 20 years ago,
Mhm.
okay?
Yep.
The second best way is to plant them today and to start
Right.
today,
Mhm.
because you're never going to get there if you don't start. So here's what you need to do. You need to talk to us. You need to talk to someone who can see what is the best plan for you So you can set it up so you might be able to have your own individual business where you actually put more money into than just the 7,000 or 8,000. But you need to reach out and call us so we can begin to build the best plan for you.
So much that goes into this. We encourage you to get your own personalized retirement blueprint from Tom and his team of all-star advisors at Mosley Wealth Management. Simply call 888-930-5609. More with Right on the Money with Tom Mosley right after this. Do you know how you'll generate income from your investments along with your Social Security in retirement? In our opinion, it's never too early to start the income planning process for your future. An income plan can help you work towards creating a steady stream of income to support you throughout your retirement years. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take control today and start income planning for your retirement. Call the team at Mosley Wealth Management so we can help you design a complimentary written income plan to help you live the retirement you've always wanted. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
At Mosley Wealth Management, we believe that everyone should have access to a comprehensive financial plan without having to pay a fee for it. We understand that financial planning can be complex and intimidating, which is why we've made it our mission to help people work towards achieving financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Our experienced advisors can work with you to develop a personalized financial plan that is tailored to your unique needs and goals. We'll help you identify potential areas for improvement in your retirement plan, including your investment strategy, tax planning, and risk management approach. With our comprehensive approach to retirement planning, you can be confident that you're making informed decisions that are designed to help you achieve your financial objectives. And the best part, at Mosley Wealth Management, you don't have to pay a fee for a written financial plan. Don't let the cost of a written financial plan hold you back from working towards your retirement goals. Call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management for your complimentary financial plan with one of our experienced advisors. We believe we can help you get on the path to financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management right now. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the CEO and president of Mosley Wealth Management. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and a very important conversation that we are having today surrounding being in the financial red zone, meaning what you need to be doing and thinking about if you are within 5 to 10 years of retirement. And really, Tom, this is for anyone, no matter where they are on their pre-retirement or retirement journey, because planning ahead is really what it is all about.
Exactly. If you fumble the ball on the 50-yard line, that's still bad. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But if you fumble it when you just about have a chance to score, you are really in trouble in football.
Well, we mentioned, so we're going through different tips of things that people need to be thinking about to make sure they have a solid financial plan in place for their very own personal retirement red zone. And one of the things we just talked about in the last segment was considering adding an IRA. Now, IRAs come in two varieties. We have the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA. Let's spend some time unpacking both of those because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. There can be a lot of confusion about which one to have. Do I have both? If so, how much do I put in? How much can I put in? Am I even eligible? So let's talk about that.
So do we have about 4 hours?
Right.
You know? Because, let me try. Right. But exactly right. Just asking just those questions, just a few of those questions is really major for you to go through the process. And this is where the advice of somebody like one of our 6 all-star advisors who are trained in this area, they know your options. You may be putting your money into a regular IRA or a Roth IRA, and there are simple IRAs. There are SEP IRAs. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 more different kinds of specialized IRAs. So you need to talk to a professional because it could put you really to an advantage as to which one you go in. But for this, I want to talk about a 4-letter word, and that's taxes. And I think that's 5, but you know what I'm talking about. But the IRA you go into is really going to be determined by what is best to position you from a tax standpoint. Because the traditional products, the IRAs, the traditional even 401ks, you do not pay the tax now. You defer the tax. And actually, let's say you make $100,000, and if you put $8,000 next year into a regular IRA, you're only going to pay income tax on $92,000 for next year's taxes, which is a nice thing. You get a tax write-off. Here's another good thing. That grows without tax through the years. You may not tap that money for 10, 12, 15 years, and all of that growth, you don't get a 1099 that has a taxable income on it any of those years. But then bingo, when you start taking it out, or when you reach now what's the age of 73 and you're forced to take money out.
Right, with those RMDs, right?
Yeah, well, that's the first bad thing. You have to take money out. I've got a lot of people in traditional IRAs and 401ks, and they come to me and they say, Tom, we really don't need that money. Well, I have to tell them, well, you know what? Uncle Sam needs that money. Right. So you've got to get taxed on it. And then once you tax it, people say, well, what do I do with it? So the first bad thing is you've got to take it out at 73 right now. The second thing is it comes out and it's fully taxable. You say, wait a minute, I only put in this little amount and it grew through the years. Yeah, you're going to get taxed at regular income on all of it. So some people are rethinking that, and they're actually thinking, well, maybe we were tricked into putting that money in there because we're paying the tax on the oak tree rather than the acorn seed, if you understand the analogy there.
Yes.
So in 1997, 1998, there was a senator from up in the Northeast, and he sponsored a bill, and it was called, his name was Roth, R-O-T-H, and that we developed the Roth IRA. And the Roth was entirely different almost from a tax standpoint. You still pay the tax, but let's go back to the analogy. If you have $100,000 and you choose this year to put $8,000 into a Roth IRA, you are going to pay tax this year on $100,000. You say, wait a minute, didn't I put $8,000 into that Roth? Right, you did. But that money went in as an after-tax contribution. So it's already been taxed, okay?
Yep.
Now, just like the regular IRA, it grows without tax. But unlike that regular IRA, it is not forced out at this point, at least at 73. You don't have to worry about required minimum distributions. And secondly, when you take the money out of a Roth IRA, there is no Zippo, nada, no tax at all that you pay on it. It comes out, and they allow us to say this, literally tax-free. You've already paid the tax before it goes in. You pay tax on the acorn, but you don't pay tax on the oak tree. So a lot of people are realizing that, hey, maybe I need to look at the Roth. In fact, the Secure Act 2.0 has made Roth such a big word and such a nice thing that they're actually forcing a lot of companies in different range and levels of employees. They're forcing those companies to add Roth 401ks to their portfolio within the next couple of years. So it may be, and this is again where you need to sit down with somebody who can really think this process through you. And we do with people, Kristin, every single week. We do it with dozens of people every single week. Even during the holidays here, I just last Monday, my scheduler said we had 28 first appointments last week, right, leading up till Christmas. So we're not slowing down, and you don't need to slow down, but you need to have somebody sit down with you and say, what are the ramifications if I go into the traditional IRA? What are the ramifications if I go into the Roth IRA? What impact will it have on me now? And what impact will it have on me in retirement when I begin to take it out? Here's another thing. What impact will it make on my, if you're married, a surviving spouse? Because the year after one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse drops from the married filing jointly tax bracket into the single filing tax bracket. The rates basically go in half, and the taxable tables can go up in a hurry if he's got his 401k, his IRA, she's got her 401k, her IRA, and all of a sudden there's only one of them left, but they've still got to take all of the required minimum distributions out of all of those qualified or still to be taxed plans. So it can really throw a curveball. We call it the widow's penalty.
Yes.
And if you don't get that money into the tax-free Roth, you could really be in trouble. So which one do you go into? I don't know. If you're making a ton of money right now and you don't have a lot of deductions, maybe that tax deferred bucket of a regular IRA makes sense. If you're making enough, and I always say it this way, Kristin, if they can stomach the taxes, if they can stand the taxes, go ahead and pay them now. I've never had anyone that was in a Roth IRA or Roth 401k that regretted it. I have had people who've said, I wish I had put more money into a Roth and less into the traditional.
Well, and it's just because we have to think of it in future terms, which I know this is one thing that really sets you and your team apart, is that you do help folks engage in the strategic tax planning of looking ahead. So many folks just do what we need to do today, but we have to look ahead because it can come back to bite us later.
It really can. And you get yourself, and the rat never intends to, it's just going after the cheese. It didn't intend for all those things to happen in that rat trap that happened. And a lot of times we go into that rat trap, the first rat in doesn't get the cheese. The second one does, but not the first one, So you really need to know what you're doing. And here's what we don't point out, even though we point it out all the time, often enough. Your situation is entirely different. Now, Kristin, let me tell people what we do when we build a retirement blueprint. This would be a great time to put this in.
Go for it.
When we build a retirement blueprint, we take income, inflation, investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy, and what you're going to need in retirement, in the end zone of retirement, what you're going to need, and we build a individual specialized plan just for you. Nobody else. Some people have called in recently, and because we're having so many people listen and watch us on television and stuff, and I don't want to come in. I just want you to send me a retirement blueprint.
Right. Can you just send me one of those?
Tom Mosley and the team have helped thousands of folks like you in Southern California plan for their retirement. Now make the call yourself. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Yeah, it's entirely impossible, Kristin, because we start with each one of you who are listening. We start with your situation. Your needs are different. Your wants are different. Your goals are different. Your dreams are different. And we start with all of those things too. And we say, how can we build a retirement blueprint from the lumberyard? What's the lumberyard? The 401ks, the 403bs, the IRAs, the Roth IRAs, everything you have. That's your lumberyard, and we fashion that together from a blank piece of paper into a retirement blueprint that's got your name on it. We put it together in writing. And a lot of times with couples particularly, we work more with single people than we do with couples because that's just the nature of our society. But with a lot of couples, one knows everything about their financial situation, but the other one doesn't. Guess what happens when one passes away? That retirement blueprint is the document. It gets altered every year. It gets changed every year. It gets upgraded every year.
Adjusted accordingly. Yeah.
Adjusted accordingly. You need a plan to decide what you're going to do in retirement. We call it a retirement blueprint, and everything we're talking today goes into a retirement blueprint. Everything we're talking about today and more. And Kristin, tell them how they can call in and get one of those.
Yes. Well, that number to call to get your very own individualized, customized retirement blueprint from Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management is 888-930-5609. We say this on the show all the time, but how you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others. So when's the last time that you've sat down, looked at what you have in your retirement lumberyard, and know how you're going to have a solid plan in place to help you navigate your own financial red zone? You can fix that today by calling 888-930-5609. More with Right on the Money and Tom Mosley right after this. Will you outlive your money? It's a scary thought, but it's a real concern for many people. In our opinion, that's why it's crucial to have a solid retirement plan in place. We believe that with proper planning, you can work towards making your money last as long as you do. Don't wait until it's too late to start thinking about your financial future. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management today to learn how we can help you create a retirement plan that can potentially help you obtain peace of mind and security for years to come. Don't let the fear of running out of money in retirement keep you up at night. Take control of your financial future today by calling 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. And Tom, we've been going through several tips for folks. The next one, it's a very interesting concept. It's focusing on what to do if you have a pension, because for so many folks, pensions are a thing of the past. And yet I know that you work with a lot of folks who do still have access to pensions. So talk about that for us.
I saw a guy in my office last week who has a flip phone, if you know what those were,
Yes.
a long time before the iPhone came out. And guess what? He's also got a pension. So, in other words, they're pretty old. They're pretty
a rare breed.
a rare breed. In my classes, and by the way, you can go to our website at www.mosleywealthmanagement.com, and you can pull down a tab there for our seminars and our events. And we are literally all over Southern California. So come in and see us, because you're probably going to hear me ask a question, and that is, how many of you have pensions? And it's not unusual for us to have, for the people who are in the red zone, for us to have 25, 30, 35% of the people raise their hand that they have pensions. I then turn around and say, how many of your children have pensions? Kristin, it's not unusual for no hands to go up, you know, because they've just walked away. There's a big aircraft carrier builder, Boeing. You might have heard of them. And we work with people, and there are 7 different pensions at Boeing, and we work with people with every single one of those pensions. But if you start to work at Boeing right now, you don't get a pension. So if you've got a pension, you need to be very thankful for it, because that is a guaranteed lifetime payment for as long as you live. And if you take it the right way, it can be as long as a spouse lives. If you're married, if you're single, it's pretty much just on your life. If you're married, it can last as long as the spouse lives as well. And many of them have a cost of living raise, particularly the pensions that are put out by a governmental organization. So pensions are great. Now, there's some choices you need to make if you do have pensions. If you have pensions, you've got to decide, do I take it on just my life, or do I take it on the life of my life and my spouse? And they tease you sometimes, because they'll give you this huge, big, fat amount if you take 100% just on your life.
Right.
But then if something happens to you, your spouse is left high and dry. And if you're single, there are some options where you can also bring somebody else in on a pension. So you do have options, and don't just arbitrarily select. One time I had a couple came in, this was about 5 years ago, and they came in, and he had selected his pension before he came in, and he had taken the option of 100%, because it's the biggest number. So which one do you want? You want the biggest number.
That's what common sense often says, right? Is to take the bigger number.
I know. I mean, but you know what, Kristin, his wife was 11 years younger than he was. And if he passed away, his wife would have gotten nothing. And he'd already started taking it about a month or two. So that again is an illustration of, you know, getting professional help after the fact. You know, you need to get the professional help before. And what we do many times is we can't change your pension. We can't alter the numbers. Sometimes there's a lump sum on there where you could take a lump sum and walk away. A lot of times people come in, they say, I don't trust my company. I know I've worked there for a long time, but there've been a lot of changes. I don't trust them. I want to walk away with my lump sum and do something else with it, and which is a viable option that you need to check out. But, you know, the option is not just what's on that paper, but if I choose option A, what are the ramifications? If I then choose option B, what are the ramifications? If I choose option C, the lump sum, what are the ramifications? What can I do with it? So again, building that plan, pensions fit into it really, really well.
Mhm.
And let me hasten to say something too about this. A pension, some of you might not like this, but is simply, absolutely, totally, even backed up by the companies who otherwise sell annuities.
Yes,
And
'cause
there's
I was going to say, because I know for a lot of folks that don't have a traditional pension, one of the things that you are passionate about helping folks do is establish their own pension. So talk about that.
Yeah, an annuity is a private pension. I have people come in, sometimes they say, well, I hate annuities.
Hmm.
I say, why do you hate annuities? I don't know. I've just heard to hate
I've
annuities.
heard they're bad, right? That's what I hear all
Yeah.
the time. I've just heard they're bad.
And you know, the best people that come in, come in sometimes they say, my mom's got an annuity. She's 93 years old. She ran out of money in that annuity 10 years ago, but she still gets a monthly check
Mm.
because it's every single month, because it's an insurance against living too long, just like your pension, just
Mhm.
like your pension, just like your Social Security. So I tell people sometimes, you already have two. You've got
Mhm.
Social Security, you've got a pension. You may not need another one. You don't need an annuity necessarily for income unless you need income.
Right.
So if you've got plenty of income coming in, but that's fine. But the only way to guarantee yourself guaranteed increasing income as long as you live, for as long as your spouse lives, if you're married, the only way to guarantee that is through an annuity. You'll run out of money in a 401k. You'll
Mhm.
run out of money in an IRA, in a Roth eventually if you live long enough. You'll never run out of money in the annuity because it's an insurance against you living too long. Just like life insurance is an insurance against not living long enough, an
Mhm.
annuity is an insurance against living too long and running out of money. So you really need to check out either your traditional pension at work or possibly a private annuity to build in that guaranteed income you need.
Yeah. And I know we've done whole shows on this, both on the television show and radio as well, about how not all annuities are equal. So, of course, you need to be using the right kind for sure to make that happen. But that is
Yeah.
an option to be able to create that personal pension.
You know, that is, I'm so glad you mentioned that. If you get a private pension annuity, you can take that lump sum from your pension. And let's say you get the payout on both you and your spouse, or you just get it on yourself. And if you take that and 2 months after you retire and you turn on that regular pension at work, generally, if it's just on your life or it's just on you and your spouse's life, if you're headed to Bora Bora and your plane goes down before you get to 𝗵𝐴 to make that little shuttle over the Bora Bora, guess
Mhm.
what? Your pension goes down with it in most cases.
Mhm.
But if you get a private pension, the way we build them, if something happens to either you, if you're single, or if something happens to both you and your spouse, and there's still money in that annuity, that goes to your heirs. So it's a way of actually protecting that money and making sure that you either use it or you leave it and you don't just give it back to the company that's running the pension for your traditional company.
So much goes into this. And I know that a lot of folks listening, this might be something that you're hearing for the first time. But again, while this might be new to you, the good news is it's not new to Tom and the team of Mosley Wealth Management. This is what they do day in and day out for folks. And I know we are coming close to the end of our show today, Tom, but a couple more things that we just need to touch on real quickly. Talk about Social Security and how that fits into this retirement blueprint, and for folks, especially as they're entering that retirement red zone.
Well, there's two things that we definitely should mention. They may be the most important thing. In fact, if you go to our website, we have 1-hour classes on two things, and it's the two things we haven't mentioned: Social Security and taxes.
Mhm.
Directly, Social Security and taxes. You need to get the most out of your Social Security for you. We call it at our place at Mosley Wealth Management, optimizing your Social Security. Hey, they took a lot of options out of Social Security back in 2015, where
Mhm.
you could play this one against that and maybe make a little bit more money. Right now, it's really easy to tell you how to maximize your Social Security. You don't even have to go to the dinner seminars or the workshop to find that out. You just don't take it until you're 70 and make sure you live until you're 80, and you're going to maximize your Social Security.
If only we could order it to happen just like that, right?
Right. But we talk about what is the optimal time, the best time for you to take your Social Security. It depends on what other assets you can draw from and Do I draw down a little bit on my IRA or my 401k? Whoops, we don't want to draw it all the way down to zero, or we're working on a fixed income just to get that maximum Social Security. We might draw our IRA all the way down. So one of the things we do as a part of the retirement blueprint is we run a Social Security schematic for you, a Social Security report. Taxes are the other thing. All of that money in the traditional IRAs and the 401ks has still got to be taxed. We can run a tax report to show you how much, if you take it out according to the government rules, how much you're going to pay in taxes over your retirement. And you could be astounded by the number. But we also show you how we can do some tax strategies and reduce your taxes. Here's what we do. That retirement blueprint touches everything we've talked about today and more, including taxes, Social Security, all of these other things. And again, we start with a blank piece of paper and we build that for you based on what you have and your situation. But you've got to take the initiative. This is where we started talking about the red zone. We've talked about all the important decisions right here. But right now I've got a proverbial football in my hand, and I am handing that football to you. And that football looks like a telephone because there are numbers on that telephone, and you've got to pick up the phone and dial to get on our calendar to get a retirement blueprint. Kristin, can you tell them how to do that?
Absolutely. That number to call is 888-930-5609. We encourage you to reach out. Give your future self a gift that you will be so glad that you've given yourself. It's not too late to make some important decisions about your financial future, and it starts with making that important phone call. 888-930-5609. Until next time, be safe, be happy, be blessed.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or